Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, there is a few trigger warnings on this story, so if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. There are mentions of child abuse and child sexual assault, harassment, breaking and entering, and assault. So you've been warned. Now let's get started. This story is from Teddy Bear 6383, and it says, "Am I the arsehole for not letting my mother's husband come to my wedding? I, 29 female, have been with my partner, 32 male, for 7 years, and we have been back and forth whether we want a big wedding or if we just elope. We've decided to have a wedding as we're both only children, so it's our parents' only chance to see their kids get married. One of the big reasons we wanted to elope was both of our families are broken, and not everyone gets along. It's our day, and we really didn't want the drama that our families might bring. I sent out the invites about 2 months ago, and my mother called me as soon as she got it to let me know I made a mistake, as her invite only had her name and a note saying strictly no +1. She flipped the lid that her husband wasn't invited, as they had been married for almost 25 years. A bit of backstory. I'm an only child and he doesn't have kids. They got together when I was around 3 years old. When I was 8 years old, he started abusing me. This went on until I left home at 15 years old to live with my great aunt. While I didn't tell anyone at the time due to fear of him, I've since told my great aunt. She's been super supportive and helped me seek help for this. When my mother was made aware of this, she instantly defended him and took his word that he never touched me. Well, I wasn't surprised by this. Appearances mean a lot to her. It hurt me deeply. We had a rocky relationship for a few years after because of this. She's made it clear that she is sticking by him and will defend him if I ever took it further. Despite this, we've come a long way to repair the relationship we once had, and I want my mother at my wedding. For the past month, I've been getting calls left, right, and center from other family members telling me how rude it is that I haven't invited the man who raised me, and that he is very upset he can't walk me down the aisle. I don't know what to say to them other than it's a small wedding and we have limited spots. I don't want to tell anyone the real reason as it overshadows the wedding, and that's all they will be thinking about. They are making me feel guilty and like I've done the wrong thing. They all think I should have invited him. I can understand from their point of view it would be strange as they don't know about anything. My fiancé and great aunt fully support me not wanting him there, but I feel like an arsehole for not inviting him. Am I the arsehole? Now, before I make my comment, I just want to reiterate, as I always do, that everything I say is very easy for me to say sitting behind a microphone reading someone else's story. They're the ones that's gone through everything they've gone through, so I can only imagine the struggle in their head dealing with all of this. But from my point of view, that your mother is awful and simply just doesn't deserve to be in your life. The fact that she defended him and chose him over you when you disclosed your abuse, I can only imagine be deeply painful. What she has done is unforgivable, and she told you where she stands on it, that she'll never back you up if you take this any further. I simply wouldn't want either of these people near me, especially in the future where you may choose to have kids yourself as well. You ain't going to want either of them near your children. Grandma Patty says, obviously, if people are approaching you about it, your mother's been complaining. I would just let her know she can either come or stay home because her husband wasn't invited. Those are her choices, but if she keeps dragging other family into it, you'll be forced to tell them exactly why you didn't invite them. Just tell her I better not be hearing from any more family members about it or we're going to have a big problem, and I'll start explaining why. Frame No says not the arsehole. I'll just tell the family that are pressuring you what you said here, that you can't imagine your abuser being part of the happiest day of your life, as you can now openly speak about it and are strong. Also, for your mum, just tell her the age-old rule. It's an invite, not a summons. She doesn't have to go if she doesn't want to, but that he will not be allowed in, and if she does show up with him, that will be the end of your relationship. If the venue has a wedding planning team / security, then if he shows up, he will not be allowed in and escorted off the property. Fluffy Sheepy says not the arsehole, but at this point I'd be uninviting mum and everyone taking her side, and changing the venue so she can't crash the event. She refuses to believe you're abused and insists that you have your abuser at your wedding. That is not acceptable. And one final comment which says, not the arsehole, you don't even owe your mother an invitation, given how she refuses to believe you. If my mother treated me that way, I'd never speak to her again. You can cut her off completely. You don't need that kind of relationship in your life. My mother was molested by her uncle as a child. She didn't tell anyone until her mid-20s, when I was 2 or so. When she told her parents, they defended her and supported her. That's what good parents do. And the mindset of this guy, the husband as well, still wanting to attend the wedding, wanting to walk her down the aisle, knowing what he's done in the past. It's just sick, isn't it? But OP comes in with her first update and says absolutely devastated. After reading so many comments about her bad behavior and so many people saying there would be no contact and wouldn't have her at the wedding, I really took it all on board and called her. I asked her to really think about it. Think about what he did to me, how it made me feel, and ask why she thought I would want him at my wedding. I told her at this point I don't want her to attend and to stop calling people and complaining about it. I told her if I get more calls or texts, or if she causes any more drama about being uninvited, I would tell the whole family what he did to me for 7 years under a roof, and how she didn't do a thing to stop him or protect me. She instantly got defensive and lost her shit at me over the phone. I told her I'm not getting into it over the phone, and she needs to respect my wishes. Now, overnight, I've almost had 20 family members message me, telling me they're no longer attending my wedding, and that I'm disgusting and a vile, mentally ill girl for making up such nasty and revolting lies about MH. I called my aunt, mother's sister, and when she finally agreed to talk to me, she told me mother called her last night in tears. She was apparently beside herself. The short version was basically I was jealous of him and how much attention my mother gave him. I was set on ruining him as a person and was going to make up lies about him abusing me just to get my own way. I was gobsmacked. I literally sat on the phone in shock for a few minutes while she continued to tell me what my mother said. She apparently also told her the reason I left home so young was because I hated MH, making me do my chores. She even told her that at 15, just before I left, that I tried to seduce him to persuade him into giving me a car, and that he turned me down, which made me angry. That's why I left. I told my aunt that was simply not true. It was so far from the truth. I asked her to call and to talk to my great aunt, and she can tell her what really happened. When I told her about the abuse, my aunt said she is now confused and doesn't know who to believe. I'm gutted and completely embarrassed. If this is what she has told my aunt, what has she told everyone else? How do I face this? I feel like that vulnerable little girl all over again. My fiancé is a little overwhelmed with how everything is unfolding, but still been really supportive. We've decided to cancel the wedding despite having paid deposits for almost everything and elope with just his immediate family, my great aunt, and a few close friends. Update 2. Shit has hit the fan big time. I've had a few family members reach out to me, and turns out he assaulted 2 of my older cousins before me, and 1 since. As awful as it sounds, and I know it sounds awful and I don't mean it that way, but I'm glad I'm not alone. Now it's not just me trying to tell my family. Our experiences are all pretty similar. We were all too scared to come forward and say anything because he threatened to hurt us and our families. We all thought we were the only ones. He always said we were his special one. I know how silly it sounds now, but as a kid living with it, you believe, and as you grow up, you hope he isn't hurting others. We're in the process of talking to everyone in the family to see if he hurt anyone else. Once the family heard about the other girls coming forward, everything became clear to them. They realized my mother was lying to protect him and have rallied around us all. They have all been so apologetic for believing my mother and not seeing it sooner. My MH, on the other hand, has showed up at my house. I have no clue how he got my address, as mother doesn't even have it. He was trying to talk and threaten me into staying quiet and not go to the police. I obviously didn't answer the door and asked him to leave. I called my partner to come home quickly, and I also called the police. He broke into my house while I was on the phone to the dispatcher and started yelling at me, hitting me, and trying to choke me. Thankfully, help arrived within about 10 minutes, and the self-defense classes I've taken helped a little bit. As scary as it all was, I feel like it's finally over, if that makes sense. He's being charged and still in lockup for breaking and entering and the assault. The 4 of us girls all made statements about the abuse, and the police are opening an investigation. What a rollercoaster this week has been. Honestly, I didn't think it was possible to feel anything I'm feeling. At the start of the week, we were having a wedding and no one really knew about the abuse. The wedding cancelled and everything thinking I'm making things up. To everything unfolding with MH and my cousins, and now we have decided to go ahead with the wedding, but change it to be more about us and for us, not our families. Obviously, I know we still have a long road ahead of us, but for now, it's over. Time to focus on the wedding and the people who matter most. Thank you to everyone who has left comments and advice. It's been so appreciated. And OP confirmed in the comments below that's definitely going to be their final update. They didn't think they'd be coming in with that update, but you know, life changes and all that sort of stuff. And all I can do after that one is wish OP all the best going forward. I can't imagine the thoughts, feelings that they're going through. I imagine it's a whole mixture, having to relive what happened in the past and recognizing other people have been through it as well. I really hope that guy gets what's coming to him. I wonder what the mother's going to do in this situation now, whether she's going to change her tune and want to back up OP. Now several people have come out. I wouldn't let her back into my life after that. She defended him all this time. She's complicit in my opinion. But anyway, now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from No Depth 7474. And it says, am I the asshole for being at breaking point with my husband's made up language? My other half has always been a bit goofy, giving his own names to things and doing impressions. About 18 months ago, this started to increase a lot. It's now a constant presence in our lives and I'm finding it difficult to live with. Examples, he has his own name for most retail outlets, professionals, organizations. Eat Your Greens is Walgreens, Sharts and Gobbles, Barnes and Noble. He has about 30 to 40 everyday words that he insists on using in place of normal ones. Scuppers, with a rising whistle at the end. Yes. Bing, with a descending whistle. No. Bagayaya? Good night. He constantly does weird sound impressions. Not like celebrities or characters, but a single noise that's a made-up sound or something childish like a fart from a children's TV show. He speaks random words like garbage or douchebag whilst burping or farting. He has made up names for our friends, which he uses sometimes under his breath when we're out with them. Pam and Will is Pig and Wig. I've just had enough. We got into bed the other night and I said good night and he said, Bagayaya, in the high-pitched voice he always does it in. I snapped and asked why he couldn't just speak to me normally, and he just laughed and came right up close to my face and did it again. His whistling is constant. He speaks to our kid in this stupid language and I'm worried it's going to confuse normal language development because he changes the words so often. Our toddler could be about to hurt themselves and instead of saying no or come here, he'll say a ridiculous made up word or sound, then get annoyed when our kid doesn't know what he wants. He's normal in other aspects, works in finance and is totally professional around his colleagues, but different at home. I told him it needs to stop. I don't mind it occasionally or for fun, but it's all the time and it's wearing me down. He got upset and said I couldn't take a joke and that I'm not fun anymore. It's true that I've become more irritable and noise averse since we had kids, but I'm so worn out and over it, I just want him to relate to me like an adult. Edit to answer some of the frequent questions. 1. I do not believe, but I'm not health qualified, that he displays any symptoms of Tourette's, autism, neurological disorders, etc., and hasn't ever done despite this. 2. He's physically well by all measures. He is for sure not having a stroke or significant physical health event. 3. Yes, I can see this could be a reaction to stress. 4. For those asking why I married him, he did not do this to this extent before we had kids. Occasionally, yes, with the occasional name or words, but not this regular. He's amazing in many ways, but this one thing is now too much for me. I don't feel it's right to discount him or throughout the whole marriage because of it, but it does need to change. 5. He will not go to therapy. 6. We have discussed it calmly. Previously, he did not take me seriously or make changes. He sees this as funny and just a joke. I agree that we need to talk more. 7. Yes, it can be funny occasionally. I'm not trying to spoil his fun. I need an adult partner at times and for him to stop when not appropriate. As I was reading some of this stuff, I could see myself in some of it, which was kind of worrying. Like, I make up totally random stuff sometimes. Like, I'm walking across the road and, you hear a car beep at another car and I'm like, ooh, he's a bit tutti fruity. But anyway, Crafty Edition comes in. Is this a real post? If it is, you got problems, OP. Not the arsehole. OP says, I wish I was joking. Sometimes I wonder if lockdown broke something in his brain. Capricious Helen says, not the arsehole. I do this kind of stuff a lot lately. Mostly the one about imitating stuff from shows. I quote random TikToks all the time, make weird noises to myself, etc. But I'm more than capable of cutting it out if I have to. I used to say my guy all the time until it became a habit. I don't know about that one, my guy. Alright, my guy. That one specifically drove my ex up the wall. And when he told me he hated it, I made a concentrated effort to stop saying it. The fact he doesn't do this around other people shows he's more than capable of knocking it off when required, and that he's aware, at least on some level, that he's doing it. The only thing I can suggest, given that your husband doesn't seem receptive to an adult conversation, is that you refuse to engage with him unless he speaks properly. Like if he says scuppers or whatever it was, just act confused and say, sorry, was that a yes or a no? Basically, don't react to these weird made-up things he's saying and show him you're not going to play ball anymore. Opie says, thanks. Yes, I think this is a plan. It's been going on for so long now that I don't often have to ask for a translation anymore, so I tend to still reply to his nonsense. I'm going to stop answering unless he speaks normally. Another commenter says, no one's an arsehole here. Have you spoken to him directly about the fact that you've noticed him doing this more often? Is it possible he's falling into this silly type of thing to cope with other stresses? I completely understand being annoyed by it, but if the frequency has increased, there is certainly a reason for it. Maybe giving him the opportunity to open up about this in a conversation, as opposed to a response to you snapping, will shed some light and make things easier for everyone involved. OP says yes, loads of times. A few months ago we had a serious but calm discussion about it, and I told him it was too much and I couldn't take it all the time. He said he didn't notice he was doing it, so I started pointing it out, and he got fed up and told me I was being way too picky. I just can't take it anymore. I'm sick of reminding him not to be so gross burping and making weird noises while we're having dinner, and the high-pitched sounds make me want to claw my eyes out. He even does it while I'm trying to settle our toddler for bed, which just gets him all hyperactive and hard to settle. Kelly says, not the arsehole, but kinda. Why would you have a kid with someone who refuses to act like an adult? Sounds like he is 12. OP says he did not act like this before we had kids. He's an amazing person in many ways, but this is a new thing that is grinding my gears. Someone said, is he high? OP says no. I'd be willing to bet our life savings on the fact that he's not taking drugs or drinking. It's pretty constant throughout the day. Thank you though. OP also added in the post, thank you. He's always been a big kid in some ways, but never like this before. He's not the loud, obnoxious type. Not one for sports night with the boys, etc. It's like a small quirk before and now it's taken over his personality. I think it'd blow up if I suggested it was mental illness though. So, 8 months later, after this post, OP comes in with her update and says, it's been several months since I posted this, so thought I'd come back to update it as requested. He eventually agreed to get checked out, confirmed neurotypical and no other health concerns. We were referred for marriage counseling and he wouldn't go. I ended it, and I'm slowly rebuilding my life. Honestly, this post was just the tip of the iceberg, and I'm exhausted but glad to be out. He also ended up really insulting our close friends, and it all spiraled into complete hellfire. Gee whiz, that was a short, pretty explosive update really, wasn't it? Just went from 0 to 100 pretty quickly. Not that surprising though, considering. It's interesting that OP said that, this was the tip of the iceberg. Kind of wonder what else there was. And if you're getting referred for marriage counseling and he's refusing to go, you're left with limited options in the end, aren't you? But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time, it all means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.